Okay, so I've been looking for other HP mini computers other than what we've been talking about on the channel primarily, which of course are the Elite desks and the Pro desk. And we also looked at the 260. And I came across this guy. It's known as the HP Pavilion Mini Desktop. This is the, I guess, what you consider the top of the line. It's the 300-030 model. Came out in 2015. This particular unit got off of eBay. It came with 4 gig of DDR3 memory, a 1 terabyte mechanical drive. Comes with your usual as far as the ports. We've got display port, HDMI, which is kind of nice. 2 USB, 1 gigabit Ethernet. I believe this is Realtek. On the front, also has 2 USB ports. Power for this is actually a 45 watt power supply, 19.5 volts, 2.31 amps. And what was nice was I was looking through my collection of power adapters that I had saved from various laptops that I had e-wasted, and I found one that actually worked with this. Just because when you buy these online, you can sometimes get them with the power adapter. A lot of them don't, and prices kind of range. I've seen them all over the place, from $30-$40 up to $200-$300. I don't know why they would charge so much, considering when this came out in 2015, it was, I believe, around $479, $499. And of course, computers just go, down in price pretty quickly. On the back, it's got all the basic information in terms of the, what it needs for power, name and serial number. You can look this up on both on the HP Part Surfer and also the warranty check. If you want to find out more information, you notice this only came with a 1-year warranty when it came out. This comes with, or came with, I should say, Windows 8.1. I was able to install a fresh copy of Windows. It will install Windows Home. It does see the internal Windows key and uses that, so you don't have to do. But again, you're not getting Pro, you are getting Windows Home. But given the fact that this was a consumer product versus the Elite Desk, Pro Desk, which is more for the corporate world. You might be wondering how it compares in size. So here is a G1, and here's this HP Pavilion Mini. I mean, it almost, obviously it's a little smaller this way. Height-wise, let's see the best way to put these next to each other here. You kind of see, it definitely, this guy is a little thicker than the other. Oh, and also it does come with a SD card reader on the side there, if that's something that you would need. So it is, pretty smaller. It's definitely lighter. This is plastic versus metal, which you have on the Elite desks. Let's crack it open. I can kind of show you what the inside looks like. You're going to, put it down on its face here. And this is kind of, there's just a piece of rubber, and it's held in by just little, kind of, I don't know what we call them, grommet or some kind of holder. Peel it back. Now mine, through the years, it's supposed to, this part right here is actually when you take off the rubber, it's supposed to kind of lay and go on the side like this. But in this case, I just kind of take it all the way off. Just put it to the side. You can kind of see the pattern, you know, for later when you put it back. There's usually 3 screws here that we'll want to take out. So working on this, you're definitely, you know, it's not the nice thumb screw and, you know, be able to get right into your stuff. You do have to do a little bit of work. Just kind of lift it up. And we'll just put that to the side. Now, this top cage is what would normally hold the mechanical drive, or you can just put, you know, your normal SATA drive in there. It's held in with 4 of these screws. I just took it out. I decided I didn't need the mechanical drives, so I just took it out, and I'll show you what I ended up doing inside. You can see that the cable is kind of just freeform there. Let's take, next thing we want to do is take this cage off. There's 4 screws here. Now, what I would suggest, because I've gone in here several times working on this, is make sure that you remember how you oriented this cage. Now, one way to tell is based on these little stays here, or where the screws on this would go. So here's the back of, you know, it would go like this, and you'd have your screws. So I'm just going to lift this up, and I'm just going to put it straight to the side so I don't forget the orientation. Now, normally, again, this is your SATA cable, and you would lay the drive inside of here. It's got a little, you know, these little things to rest it in. And then the screws here, excuse me, these 4 would screw into the bottom of the drive. Okay. I went ahead and added some more, another stick of memory here. This one came with just a single stick of 4 gig. It does come with Wi-Fi right here. I got a good deal on some 64 gig M.2 SATA drives, the kind that have the 2 notches. This won't take an NVMe. You have to have a M.2 SATA in order for that to work. So I just picked up one of these, as opposed to, you know, I could have put pretty much the speeds the same if I had just used the normal, you know, one of these type of guys for the main drive. But I wanted to experiment. I got a pack of these that I'm going to use with some other stuff. These are the 2242s. I'm, you know, as you've seen before, I'm a big fan of the 2230s. You know, I thought I'd expand and try use some of these instead. So yeah, you've got your Wi-Fi. I believe this only goes up to N. So you probably could update this because of the fact that this is a normal, you know, same kind of slot that you use for the Wi-Fi on the Elite desks. So if you had an extra card for Wi-Fi, you should be able to stick in here, and it looks like it does come with the antenna. Let's see, looks like they kept it with some tape. Let's see if these are the normal kinds of. Yeah, they look to be. So you could take this off and upgrade this if you needed Wi-Fi. This would be a nice little unit, I guess. I think they touted it as something that you could put behind your TV, you know, real out of place. It does have a fan, though. I wouldn't call it the quietest unit, and it's a little quieter than, let's say, your other, but I'll show you underneath here what it looks like. So if we pull this up, let's see. Okay. This kind of looks familiar. You know, it's got the aluminum heat sink. This fan looks very familiar. So I was going to take this out and see what the processor looks like underneath here. Let me see. Kind of a pain having this on the side, but we'll just be careful so that we don't rip out the antenna. Oh, got to get a different. How convenient. Looks like it uses our tried and true T15. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, so the heat sink. Let's see. Okay, that just goes to the side. And looks like there's one buried inside here. Okay. Okay. See if it will come off now. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Very similar. It's a very tiny. Here's heat sink. And there's your processor. This is an i3 4025U. And I think that's similar to what we saw with those 280, excuse me, not 280, the HP 260s, where, you know, it's obviously we can't change this CPU and it's just sort of embedded in there. This looks to be copper. Copper versus aluminum, which is kind of nice as far as the heat sink. We'll get this cleaned up and maybe we'll put a little bit of fresh paste on there. Well, the definitely looks better. I mean, this is I looked on the warranty and this unit was purchased January 2015. So this is thermal paste that was probably on there, you know, a good 9 years. I also took it off on the CPU. We'll see if we could put a little bit of, hopefully I've got enough thermal paste left here. Okay, so if we look at the numbers, it wants us to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's, all right, 1, 2, and 4. Okay. Let's put the fan back on. It actually looks pretty clean. That's good. It's always a nice satisfaction, you know, when you take all the stuff apart and you do all these things and then you put it back together and it actually does work. That's not always the case with other kinds of stuff that you have to do. Put this back on here. Yeah, for being a mini, it's not too bad as far as working on. Now, you could, if you don't want this getting in the way, you could just detach it from here and then just save it. I'm going to have to figure out how to save the screws anyway, so I might just, you know, but for now, actually, let's go ahead and we'll just You just lift up the little piece of plastic and then you can take it away. Unfortunately, you still need the drive cage, so that way, since it all kind of comes together and fits. And make sure again I got that right. 1, 2, yeah, okay, that's gonna work. Okay. Now this unit also came in a slightly cheaper model that was in blue, and they call it the HP Stream. So you might see that out there. That one came with a Celeron processor, and then also this one, it's called the 300, but it's a dash 20. That one came with a Pentium processor instead of the i3. Okay, so we got this. Now we should be able to put this back on. What we'll do is I'll get some power. We'll fire it up. I'll show you the BIOS menu, and then we can also go into Windows and check some stuff like thermals, do some benchmarking, that sort of thing. Okay. We have our unit. Okay, so we're in the BIOS. I just, hold down the escape key or hit it a couple times as it's coming up. It actually does it pretty nicely. Some of these units, you have to be real quick in doing it. This one was pretty good. If we look at the system info, born on date, I thought I had updated the BIOS, so I'm going to have to check on that when we actually get into Windows. Unfortunately, there's not a way to update the BIOS via the actual BIOS itself. I think you can maybe do it through, like a file and that kind of thing, but it's not as nice as with the Elite Desk, where you actually will, go back to the mothership and bring down the latest version and let you install it and such. So let's hit any key. Let's do F10 for BIOS setup. About the only thing in here, this looks very similar to the Elite Desk G1 BIOS. I would go to security and then system security, and then make sure that this is enabled. This will allow you to do VMs, like say under Proxmox. Lately, one thing I've started doing is turning off network boot, because that way it doesn't, when I'm playing with USBs and SATAs and so forth, I just want it to focus on drives. I don't want it to go, oh, I can't do any of that, I'm going to try to do on the network. It's not going to be able to do anything on the network anyway, so might as well just turn it off. Okay, let's save changes and exit. And this should then boot into Windows, and then we can go in and check a couple more things out. All right, I'm looking in Task Manager under Performance. We've got our CPU, 1.9 gigahertz, the i3. And again, this is considered the top of the line of this particular unit that came out. 2-core, 4 logical processors. Memory, I just had in, I'd thrown in some stuff. Looks like it, just running at the 1600 megahertz. Ethernet, it is the Realtek for the PCI. GPU, looks like it's just HD, the built-in Intel HD graphics. Okay, maybe let's check out some of the thermals. All right, we got hardware info running, our core temp. It's not bad. It's in the mid 40s. That's pretty good. I want to try running at a full load and see how things go with that. Let's see. Yeah, pretty good. I think we'll give that a try. I'm also going to do some tests. I'll report back on the power consumption because again, this is a 45 watt system, and it's also using a CPU that's designed for laptops. So we may get some pretty nice numbers in terms of, particularly for those folks that maybe are looking for something that they could, I don't know, put in front of the TV, that kind of thing. Let's try running full load or excuse me, heavy load and see how the thermals work out. Okay, so after 5 minutes on heavy load, we're looking at around, low mid 60s. Let's stop it and see how it recovers. The fan definitely ramps up when it's going. I wouldn't call it annoying or whining, but you definitely can tell especially if you're wanting something whisper quiet, this would not be the one. But I don't know if you're going to be, depending on the kinds of stuff you're doing, it might be kind of interesting to use it as something like a web browser or something that could be somehow hooked up to your TV. It does have HDMI out along with the display port, and you could hook up, a wireless keyboard and mouse if you wanted, such a thing on your, big screen TV, I guess. Yeah, that's coming down pretty quickly. You'll see now we're getting closer back down to the mid to high 40s there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to exit here, and then what we'll do is we'll run some stuff to, I know, we can do some benchmarks on the actual drive just to kind of show you the speed of that 2242. Actually, pretty good speeds. I was running some stuff, doing it off of a SATA drive off of my EliteDisk G3, and these numbers actually in here are actually a little better. So it's not the speed of your NVMe, but decent, and considering also that slower speed as far as just the overall components and such. So that's pretty good. All right, I did some tests with Kilowatt. Just plugged in, no power on. It draws 0.3 watts. On sleep, it's 1 watt. Sort of average idle is around 14 watts. And then when I did a heavy load, it got up to an average around 26 watts. Definitely less than the other units. I mean, this is a processor that only has a TDP of 15 watts, so it would draw a lot less juice. And of course, you have a 45 watt power supply. A couple other things I found out. So the max memory you can put is 16 gig. You can go faster memory. You can go up to the 1866 megahertz, as opposed to the kind of the standard 1600 megahertz. Now, as far as recommendations, it's a cute little unit. It takes up obviously even less space than your Elite desks and Pro desks. I wish that you could have a little more to do with it, but at least it does have a SATA port. It does have an M.2 and Wi-Fi. So for those that just need something really simple, I really wouldn't pay a whole lot for it. And of course it would work as a nice Proxmox node, because it's tiny. And maybe you want to put one up where, let's say, your router or routers are sitting. You don't want a lot of extra space or power pull. You could stick something like that up there.